football over the next couple of years and get drafted, then these 5 tips will help maximize their chances. So feel free to reach out if you've got any follow-up questions. If you're tuning in on Instagram, on YouTube, use the comment section, chat box section to send in your questions, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Of course, if you're not a parent and you're a footballer yourself and you've got your own questions, fire ahead. But I'll dive straight into it. I'll also reference a few Academy Get Better Plan presentations for our members to that have recently joined and haven't watched yet to check out as I dive a little bit more detail in those topics. But firstly, number 1, technique. You want to learn good fundamental habits. Everything I'm referencing here is in regard to physical preparation for high performance of Australian rules football. So when I'm thinking about technique, we're thinking running efficiency, running mechanics, how well you can run at a slow pace, how well you can run at a high speed pace, and how well you can run at sprinting speed, how well you can accelerate, how well you can decelerate, and your lateral ability. So your change of direction work, which is there's lots of different ways that you can move across the field of football. Obviously, it's 360 degrees. So to check out some different movement patterns that you can practice specifically for Australian rules football, head to our YouTube channel, our agility playlist, to check out some drills there. But technique there on the field, that's fundamental number 1. Number 2, your technique in the gym. So how well you can squat, both double leg, single leg. So patterns like a box squat, a back squat, a single leg squat, a step up, any knee-based dominant movements, both double leg and single leg. How well you can hip hinge, so working the muscles more around your hip and your posterior chain, your hamstrings and your glutes. So that can be double leg, like things like an RDL, Romanian deadlift, or it can be a single leg Romanian deadlift. Can be a deadlift, like a trap bar deadlift off the ground. So same sort of focus, how well you can load and segment your whole body and working as one unit and being able to brace under external load, but also coordinate your different joints at once and move efficiently and load the big, powerful muscle groups rather than overload things like your lower back. And you can see that with poor technique and athletes, if you're listening in and you're deadlifting for the first time and you're feeling mainly your lower back, something is probably not going right with your technique. So that's where you want to pay attention to get a coach to help you out, or watch some of our YouTube tips to see what success looks like when it comes to bracing appropriately and being able to get that leg drive that we want. But you've got to prepare your spine first. And the benefits of that is not only safety, but also core strength as well. So you'll have, by getting good technique, you're going to get benefits both performance and also injury mitigation. We've got your upper body movements. So your pressing, obviously going to help you with things like fend off. So your bench press, single arm, dumbbell bench press, push-ups, dips. So anything where we're pushing either your body weight away from you or external load. And then you've got your pulling. So both bench pull, single arm dumbbell rows, overhead pull-ups, lat pull downs. So we're working through targeting more the muscles of your back and your grip strength ability, where you're pulling objects or pulling your body weight closer towards you. And then you have your just general lumbo-pelvic control, core exercises, if you like, however you want to phrase it, but essentially working your midsection, being able to absorb force, being able to produce force, so rotational power exercises. I love the Torsionator for that. Being able to absorb force, so you might have some perturbation exercises like with a band, and you're creating lots of movement and variation, and then you're being able to stabilize that band and have minimal movement through your trunk, so you're nice and stiff. And that can help us for preparing you for like on the field, where obviously you're in contested positions and you've got that external body load of someone pushing you from side to side, and someone that's weak and not able to maintain good positions will lose their posture. And where these exercises can help is being able to maintain stiffness, maintain dominant position, and being able to win the contests by setting yourself up and getting into those better positions to give yourself the opportunity to either win the ground ball or win the aerial contest. So that's tip number one, technique. So make sure to, if you haven't got, typically, obviously your child will have access to lots of support. So making sure that they're maximizing that support. If they haven't got support, then reach out to a private coach to make sure you have that one-on-one. That's something that we offer. So if you want a strength and conditioning coach, just direct message me and I can get in contact with you and put a program in place for your child and to make sure that they've got really sound technique. So it's the best age to invest in one-on-one coaching because you're learning your foundations of how you move and that the body is more plastic, more malleable at an earlier age. It's harder to obviously teach an old dog new tricks. So it's harder to refine our technique later on in your career. So you're better off learning those, that sound technique in the gym, on the field, early days, and that's going to set you up. So then when you get into a program, not only will you adapt and be able to handle the loads in an AFL program better, but you'll be able to feel more comfortable because you know what how to move in the gym and on the field. So the child will feel more comfortable in integrating into an AFL program and hopefully make a bigger impact and ultimately debut a bit earlier. Tip number two, healthy habits. So what we're thinking around here, not so much building towards elite habits and putting that pressure on our child to live an elite lifestyle. I think you can save that for later on. They've got plenty of years ahead of them to think about things like, supplements and making sure they're counting their calories and getting in naps during the day and extra recovery sessions or, mindfulness and going above and beyond with all this extra workload that can take away from the fun of the game. And I think that's number one. So what we want to more phrase is just developing healthy habits. So that's a healthy habit can be just simply enjoying the game and remembering why they started playing, which will typically be having fun with their mates. So keeping that at the front of the mind, making sure they're eating healthy food. So good sound nutrition. It doesn't need to be fancy, but just simply eating food that comes from the ground, both vegetables and fruit, making sure that we're eating animal products, so both from a dairy and meat perspective, and you're limiting those processed foods. So if it's packaged, frozen, and anything that's over-processed, like you processed meats as well, like your bacon, salami, and the like. So eating is clean, healthy food, enjoying the game from a mindset point of view and making sure that fun and enjoyment is a number one premium, and really setting in the examples of just some basic healthy habits like making sure they're warming up appropriately, they're not lifting too heavy in the gym, they're focusing on sound technique, and that they're doing some form of cool down, stretching, and wind down activities. So you don't need to go too crazy, I think, with that aspect. I think that at times 15-year-olds can be almost putting the pressure of an AFL full-time athlete on their agenda. And at the end of the day, they're growing, they've got school, they've got other sports, and they're still developing within themselves. So I think keeping some good healthy habits that's going to set them up for future success, but getting that balance right as well, where we're not overdoing it and you're taking away from that enjoyment factor. So that's tip number two, healthy habits. Tip number three, balance physical training with academic responsibilities. Well, these days, clubs are really keen on helping the athletes have a life outside of football, because typically footballers will play their best football and a sustainable long career when they've got things outside of the game that they can focus on. So whether it be study, whether it be a trade, or whether it be learning some form of craft, whether it be real estate, plumbing, electrician, or perhaps it might be some business skills around hospitality. So I think developing that and putting a real premium on making sure that they're not just focusing on football, but they've got things outside of football from a young age is really, really important. They've got hobbies outside of the game that they enjoy, but also they're studying and they're putting good work into their schooling and ideally graduating to year 12. So it's a lot easier for them to be able to go to university while they're playing. So that's tip number 3, balance physical training with academic responsibilities. Tip number 4, foster resilience and a positive growth mindset. So the parents can play a big role in this. Make sure that you're really celebrating the wins along the way, and making them feel proud for the hard work that they're putting in, and that they're really enjoying the highlights, and share that enjoyment with them. But equally, when they're going through, it's a brutal sport. So when they're going through challenges and setbacks, maybe they're out of form, or they're not playing the position they want to be playing in, the coach is playing them in a different position. Perhaps they haven't made a rep side. Whatever the setback might be, it could be an injury, that you're listening to them to go through those sort of challenges. So they really feel like they're heard, and they've got a support network is really, really important, and get experts around that can experts in that field. So if it's the coach, for example, that's playing them out of position, make sure that you support that coaching decision, because that's going to happen over their whole career. They're not always going to be able to play the position they want to. So support that coaching decision and encourage your child to have a chat and follow up with the coach, and an open, honest conversation. Building those habits will put them in a really strong position to be able to feel connected to the team, feel like they're heard, and also it will develop stronger relationships, and I guess they'll get more comfortable in having those harder conversations. So encourage them to have that with their coach, rather than the parent having that conversation with the coach. I think is really, really important. If it's an injury, make sure they've got access to a physiotherapist or a sports doctor to get that diagnosis right. If you can, get a scan to make sure there's clarity on exactly what the injury is, and have a rehabilitation plan in place, to make sure that this is not going to be a further issue for the athlete over their career. So make sure you invest in those injuries so it doesn't become a reoccurrence and a problem, because as we know, the longer athletes don't play football, the harder it is to get back and get their confidence back. So that's tip number 4, foster resilience and positive growth mindset. Last tip, number 5, ensure adequate rest and recovery. So making sure that there's a real value around sleep. I think that's really, really important. So obviously there's going to be a tendency to want to stay up late, and play perhaps video games or stay at mates' places and things like that. Make sure that there's a routine the night before, or even 2 nights before game day. So they're starting to think about and valuing sleep as a real key. There's consistency in going to sleep at night and waking up at a certain time. School obviously helps that, but when we're in holidays, try and stick to a rough routine. It might mean that they get a bit of extra sleep to help with their growth and development, but you don't want to be having heaps of fluctuations. So really getting across to your child that sleep is so important, both for their performance, but more importantly for their long-term health and growth. Recovery days. So typically this population, 15 to 18-year-old future AFL stars, they're going to be hard workers. They wouldn't have got to where they are. Obviously talent will get them so far, but they're going to be driven. They're going to be wanting to work on their craft all the time. So ensuring that they understand that the body needs time to adapt, and we can't be just putting in the work all day, every day. We want to have a fluctuation in that work. So it doesn't mean they can't be working on their game, but perhaps that might mean if they've had a huge session the day before, or they've played a game the day before, rather than going for a 10K run, maybe they're watching some vision from their game. Maybe they're doing some stretching, maybe a yoga class. Maybe they're watching another team play, and analysing a player's game that plays in a similar position. So you can work on your game, but just be smart in teaching them the importance of understanding the body at times will need rest days. A complete 24 hours of physically not doing anything, which can be really hard with this age, because there's going to be rep teams wanting them to play. There's going to be school teams. There's going to be club. There's going to be local teams, and there's going to be different sports as well, competing for them to participate. So making sure that there is, I think the parent can have that influence on understanding that you know, because you're driving them to all these activities, how much they're doing early morning training, maybe gym before school, and they might have house sports during the day, and then they might have school rep football in the afternoon. So understanding that maybe there's some training they need to sit out, or perhaps speak to the coach and understand that what their schedule is outside of that team. So they're not just getting overloaded and setting them up for overload injuries like shin splints or stress fractures in their feet that ultimately is going to hinder their performance way more than just an extra session here or there. So make sure you've got a really sound periodized program in place, quality sleep, rest days, and some recovery habits in place, just simply warming up well and cooling down well. So that's my 5 tips. This is this month's podcast. Hopefully you've taken some things away. Like I said, if you've got any questions, both parents and footballers listening into this, feel free to email me at jack@propellerpro.com. We do have a high performance program. So if you don't have a program in place and you want some structure and direction on what exactly you can be doing to get that balance right between putting in the hard work, but also allowing enough time to adapt to that stimulus to reap the benefits and get the results, then you can try our program out for free. I've got a 14-day free trial. The link is in the show notes. And if you want to work with one of our AFL experienced strength and conditioning coaches to develop your technique, let me know, direct message me, and we can jump in my calendar and have a 15-minute chat around your child's goals and how we could perhaps be a good fit to help their development. Academy members, these are some episodes I would recommend if you've recently joined our Academy membership, which everyone that's on our program gets access to. So if you're on the online program, if you're an Academy member, or you're working with one of our coaches, you'll have access to these episodes. So log into the Academy, go to the Get Better Plan section on the dashboard. Episode 1, Fitness for Football Masterclass. I talk about all these 5 tips plus 5 more in greater detail, and I present with slides on the latest research and some actionable tips. So make sure to check that one out. Episode 3, how to create your own Get Better Plan. That's something that all our coaches do with the athletes, where you'll have a lifestyle focus for the upcoming month and a physical focus. So make sure to check that out, how to create your own one. Episode 10, coping strategies. So particularly those going through perhaps year 12, year 11, you've got SACs, you've got exams, and you've got stress outside of football. So developing some sound coping strategies to ensure come game day, you've got a clear head and you're feeling confident and ready to play your best game. Episode 14, some sleep. So research-backed strategies to help with your sleep hygiene and sleep quality. As I said, that's number 1. The list of things that sleep will help you for. If it was a drug, it would be illegal. So the benefits of quality sleep compared to someone that's sleep deprived is huge. So if you want to maximize your anything, but particularly around football performance, you'd be silly not to look at ways that you can improve your sleep routine. Tip number 25, recovery methods. So I just go through a list of different recovery methods, all from hot, cold, passive, active, and the benefits. So why you would choose certain ones. And then last one, tip number 57. I get a lot of, I have a lot of chats over the years with parents about athletes that have been injured over a long period of time. Their child's lost their confidence. So there's just some tips around how to regain confidence if your child is in a form slump, or perhaps you've been injured for a long period of time and you've lost your confidence. So make sure, check all those episodes out. We've got links to them. If you can't find those episodes, whatever it is, and just hit me up either on email or direct message me on the socials and I'll send them your way. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys on our next episode. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Cheers, guys.